Hi everyone, and welcome to Sleep and Learn. Tonight, we're diving into the most relaxing facts about spices. Tiny ingredients that carry centuries of history, travel, and hidden natural beauty. From warm cinnamon forests to distant tropical islands where rare spices grow, each scent tells a quiet story of nature and time. Let your mind slow down as we explore how spices grow, why they smell so rich and calming, and how they gently connect us to the world around us. So get comfortable, relax, and let's begin this peaceful journey together. The secret world hidden inside spices. Spices may seem like the smallest and most ordinary elements of a kitchen, yet they belong to one of the most complex and fascinating systems in the natural world. Within each grain, seed, or fragment of dried bark exists a hidden structure shaped by millions of years of evolution. These structures contain intricate combinations of chemical compounds, each designed by nature to perform a specific function. What humans experience as aroma is, in reality, a form of invisible communication. Plants produce aromatic molecules not for human enjoyment, but to interact with their environment. Some scents attract pollinators, guiding insects toward flowers. Others act as defensive signals, discouraging animals from consuming the plant. In some cases, plants even release chemical messages into the air to warn neighboring plants of danger. When a spice is crushed or heated, these stored messages are released. The molecules travel through the air and reach the human nose, where they are detected by specialized receptors. Each receptor responds to a particular molecular shape, sending signals to the brain. The brain then translates these signals into recognizable sensations such as sweetness, warmth, sharpness, or freshness. What makes this process remarkable is that the human brain does not simply detect these signals, it interprets them emotionally. Certain spice aromas can create a sense of calm, warmth, or familiarity. Others can feel stimulating or intense. This is because the regions of the brain responsible for smell are closely connected to those involved in memory and emotion. At the same time, spices are also records of geography and climate. A single spice carries within it the environmental conditions in which it was grown. Soil composition, sunlight, rainfall, and temperature all influence the formation of its chemical compounds. As a result, even the same type of spice can vary subtly depending on its origin. Spices have also played a significant role in shaping human history. Their rarity and desirability led to the creation of trade routes that connected distant regions of the world. Entire economies developed around their exchange, and journeys across unknown oceans were undertaken in search of them. In this way, small plant materials influenced large-scale human movement and cultural exchange. Despite their historical importance, spices remain fundamentally natural objects. They are not manufactured but grown, harvested, and preserved. Their complexity arises from biological processes rather than artificial design. Each spice represents a balance between structure and environment, chemistry and function. Another lesser-known aspect of spices is their variability over time. The compounds responsible for aroma are not fixed. They can change depending on how the spice is stored, processed, or used. Exposure to air, light, and heat gradually alters these molecules, which is why freshly prepared spices often produce more vivid sensations. In scientific terms, spices are collections of volatile and non-volatile compounds interacting simultaneously with multiple human senses. In experimental terms, however, they are something quieter and more subtle. They are capable of shaping perception without drawing attention to themselves, influencing both the physical and emotional aspects of a moment. Taken together, spices can be understood as small but highly complex natural systems. They connect plant biology, environmental conditions, human perception, and cultural history into a single, compact form. What appears to be a simple ingredient is, In fact, a concentrated expression of natural processes operating across time and space. In this sense, every spice contains more than flavor. It contains structure, information, and interaction, a silent network of signals that becomes visible only when released. Rare plants, forgotten flavors, and the expanding world of spices. The world of spices continues to expand far beyond the most familiar varieties. While many spices are widely known and used, there exists a vast range of lesser-known plants, regional specialties, and rediscovered ingredients that reveal how diverse and evolving this field truly is. These spices originate from unique environments and often require highly specific conditions to grow, making them both rare and distinctive. One example is tonka bean, a seed native to South America. It contains aromatic compounds that produce a scent often described as a blend of vanilla, almond, and warm spices. Though used carefully due to its chemical composition, tonka bean has attracted attention for its rich and complex fragrance in both culinary and perfumery traditions. Another unusual spice is sumac, derived from dried berries that grow in the Middle East and parts of the Mediterranean. Unlike most spices, sumac contributes a bright, tangy flavor rather than heat or sweetness. Its deep red color and refreshing acidity make it a unique addition to dishes, offering balance without overwhelming other ingredients. In Southeast Asia, galangal is often used alongside ginger, yet it has its own distinct character. Its aroma is sharper and more citrus-like, with subtle pine notes. Galangal plays an important role in traditional dishes, demonstrating how closely related plants can develop entirely different flavor profiles depending on their chemical composition. There are also spices that originate from tree resins and bark extracts, expanding the definition of what a spice can be. Frankincense, better known for its use in incense, has occasionally been explored in culinary contexts due to its complex, slightly bitter aroma. Similarly, certain tree saps and resins have been used in small amounts to add depth to traditional recipes. Modern exploration has also led to the rediscovery of spices that were once popular but gradually disappeared from common use. Cubeb pepper, for instance, was widely traded in earlier centuries but later became less common. It has a distinctive flavor that combines peppery heat with subtle herbal and floral notes. Today, it is being reintroduced in specialized culinary applications. The growing interest in biodiversity has encouraged scientists and chefs to explore plants that were previously overlooked. In some regions, local communities have long used wild spices that remain largely unknown to the wider world. These plants often contain unique combinations of aromatic compounds, offering entirely new sensory experiences. Climate and geography continue to play a crucial role in shaping these spices. High-altitude regions, tropical forests, and coastal environments all produce plants with different chemical characteristics. Even slight variations in soil or rainfall can influence the final aroma and flavor of a spice, making each harvest subtly unique. In recent years, there has also been increased attention to sustainable cultivation. Because some rare spices grow only in limited areas, careful management is required to prevent overharvesting. This has led to renewed interest in traditional farming methods that protect both the plants and their ecosystems. At the same time, scientific research is uncovering new details about how aromatic compounds form and interact. Advances in analytical techniques allow researchers to study spices at the molecular level, revealing the complexity behind even the simplest scent. This ongoing research continues to deepen understanding of why spices behave the way they do. Taken together, these developments show that the study of spices is far from complete. New varieties continue to be discovered, while older ones are re-examined and appreciated in new ways. The world of spices is not fixed but constantly evolving, shaped by nature, culture, and scientific curiosity. In this way, spices remain a living field of exploration. Each unfamiliar seed, root, or resin represents a small piece of a much larger system, one that connects ecosystems, traditions, and human perception. Even after thousands of years, spices continue to offer new possibilities, inviting quiet discovery and a deeper appreciation of the natural world. The quiet history of spices. Spices have traveled with humanity for thousands of years, quietly shaping cultures, cuisines, and even the paths of exploration. Long before modern supermarkets and global trade networks, small dried seeds, bark, roots, and fruits were among the most valuable items on Earth. In ancient times, spices were sometimes worth their weight in gold. Their aromas carried stories from distant lands and warm climates, bringing hints of faraway forests and tropical gardens into everyday meals. One of the most fascinating things about spices is how small they are compared to the enormous influence they have had on human history. A pinch of cinnamon or a few grains of pepper might seem insignificant today, yet these tiny ingredients once motivated merchants to cross deserts, sailors to travel across unknown oceans, and entire civilizations to establish trade routes that connected continents. Many of the earliest spice journeys began in regions such as India, Southeast Asia, and parts of Africa. These warm climates allowed aromatic plants to flourish. Traders carried spices along ancient routes that slowly stretched across Asia and into Europe. The famous Silk Road, for example, transported silk and precious goods, but spices were often just as valuable to the people who traded them. Black pepper became one of the most desired spices in Europe during the Middle Ages. Because it had to travel such long distances, it was extremely expensive. In fact, pepper was sometimes used as a form of payment or as a gift between nobles. Owning spices signaled wealth, curiosity, and connection to the wider world. Another remarkable spice is cinnamon. Harvested from the inner bark of certain tropical trees, cinnamon was treasured for its warm, comforting fragrance. Ancient Egyptians used it not only in cooking but also in perfumes and ceremonial practices. The scent of cinnamon was associated with warmth, protection, and mystery. Spices were not only prized for their flavors. Many cultures believed they had healing properties. Ginger, for instance, has been used for thousands of years in traditional medicine. Its gentle warmth was thought to soothe the stomach and calm the body. Turmeric, with its deep golden color, became a symbol of vitality and balance in several ancient traditions. Interestingly, the power of spices often comes from natural chemical compounds that plants produce to protect themselves from insects or environmental stress. These compounds, such as essential oils, also create the aromas that humans find so appealing. When spices are dried, these oils become concentrated, which is why such small amounts can transform the flavor of a dish. Today, spices are so common that it is easy to forget how extraordinary they once seemed. Yet every jar on a kitchen shelf contains a small fragment of botanical history. Each grain of spice carries the memory of sunlight, soil, and the long journeys that brought it from distant landscapes to our tables. And perhaps that is one of the most relaxing things about spices. They connect us quietly to nature and to centuries of human exploration. A simple aroma rising from a cup of tea or a warm meal can carry echoes of forests, islands, and ancient trade winds that once moved gently across the world. The ancient origins of spices. Spices are among the oldest treasures discovered and used by human civilizations. Long before modern agriculture and global trade, people were already gathering aromatic seeds, roots, bark, and fruits from wild plants. These natural ingredients added warmth, fragrance, and depth to food, but they also carried symbolic meaning in rituals, medicine, and daily life. Some of the earliest records of spice use come from ancient India and China more than 4,000 years ago. Early texts describe ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, and pepper not only as flavorings but also as substances believed to bring balance and health to the body. In many early cultures, spices were considered gifts from nature that helped people connect with the environment around them. Ancient Egypt valued spices so highly that they were used in religious ceremonies and burial rituals. Aromatic substances such as cinnamon and cassia were included in embalming mixtures, and spices were often burned as incense in temples. The warm, calming scent of spices filled sacred spaces, creating an atmosphere of peace and reverence. Spices also played an important role in early cooking. Before refrigeration existed, certain spices helped preserve food or mask the flavor of ingredients that had begun to spoil. Pepper, cloves, and cinnamon were especially prized for their strong aromas. Because many spices grew only in tropical climates, they had to travel long distances to reach other parts of the world. This made them extremely valuable. Traders carried spices across deserts, mountains, and oceans, creating some of the earliest global trade networks. Even today, when spices are easily available in almost every kitchen, they still carry echoes of this ancient history. Each small grain or dried leaf represents thousands of years of human curiosity, exploration, and appreciation for the natural world. How spices grow in nature. Spices come from many different parts of plants. Some are seeds, some are bark, some are roots, and others are dried fruits or flower buds. This diversity makes the world of spices one of the most fascinating branches of botany. For example, black pepper comes from tiny berries that grow on climbing vines in tropical forests. When the berries are harvested and dried, they shrink and wrinkle, forming the familiar peppercorns used in kitchens around the world. Cinnamon, on the other hand, comes from the inner bark of certain trees. Farmers carefully peel thin layers of bark, which curl naturally into the small sticks we recognize as cinnamon. As the bark dries, it releases the sweet, warm aroma that has made cinnamon beloved for centuries. Some spices grow underground. Ginger and turmeric are actually rhizomes, which are underground stems that store nutrients. These roots develop complex flavors while hidden beneath the soil, absorbing minerals and moisture from the earth. Cloves come from flower buds that are harvested before they open. When dried, the buds harden and turn dark brown, preserving their intense fragrance. The environments where spices grow are often lush and humid. Many spices originate in tropical regions such as Indonesia, India, Sri Lanka, and Madagascar. Warm temperatures, rich soil, and seasonal rains create perfect conditions for aromatic plants to develop their unique chemical compounds. These compounds, known as essential oils, are what give spices their powerful scent and flavor. Plants produce them as natural protection against insects and environmental stress. Humans simply discovered that these same compounds can add extraordinary flavor and aroma to food. The aromatic chemistry of spices. The wonderful aromas of spices are created by complex mixtures of natural chemicals called essential oils. These oils are stored in tiny structures within the plant's tissues and are released when the spice is crushed, ground, or heated. For example, the warm scent of cinnamon comes from a compound called cinnamaldehyde. This natural substance gives cinnamon its distinctive sweetness and gentle warmth. Cloves contain a compound known as eugenol, which produces their rich and slightly spicy aroma. Eugenol is so powerful that cloves are often used in very small amounts, yet they can completely transform the flavor of a dish. Pepper contains piperine, the compound responsible for its gentle heat. Unlike the burning sensation of chili peppers, pepper's warmth develops slowly and spreads evenly across the palate. Cardamom, one of the most fragrant spices in the world, contains several aromatic oils that create its complex scent. Some people describe cardamom as having hints of citrus, flowers, and eucalyptus all at once. These essential oils are delicate and can slowly fade if spices are stored for too long. That is why freshly ground spices often smell much stronger than spices that have been sitting on a shelf for years. Interestingly, the aroma of spices can also influence mood. Certain scents are known to stimulate relaxation or comfort. The warm fragrance of nutmeg or cinnamon, for example, is often associated with feelings of calm and familiarity. The great spice routes. For many centuries, spices traveled along vast trade routes that connected distant parts of the world. These routes formed one of the earliest global networks of commerce. The famous Silk Road carried spices from Asia through Central Asia and into Europe. Traders transported pepper, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg across deserts and mountain passes. The journey could take months or even years. Maritime routes also played an important role. Sailors navigated the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea to transport spices from islands in Southeast Asia to markets in the Middle East and Europe. Because spices were so valuable, controlling spice trade routes became extremely important for powerful empires. Cities that served as trading hubs grew wealthy from the flow of goods passing through their markets. The demand for spices even helped inspire the Great Age of exploration. European explorers searched for faster sea routes to reach the spice-producing regions of Asia. These journeys eventually led to new discoveries and expanded knowledge of the world. Today, spices still travel across continents, but modern transportation allows them to move much more quickly. What once took months now takes only days. The power, value, and mystery of spices. Spices have long been valued not only for their aroma and flavor, but also for their intensity, rarity, and complexity. Some spices are known for their powerful heat, others for their extraordinary value, and still others for their mysterious origins. Together, they represent one of the most fascinating aspects of the natural world. Among the most striking qualities of certain spices is their ability to produce heat. Chili peppers, for example, contain a compound called capsaicin, which interacts with sensory receptors in the human body. Rather than detecting actual temperature, these receptors interpret capsaicin as a sensation of burning heat. This effect is part of the plant's natural defense system, discouraging animals from consuming it. However, humans have developed a unique appreciation for this sensation, incorporating spicy flavors into cuisines around the world. While some spices are known for their intensity, others are famous for their rarity and value. Saffron is widely considered the most precious spice on earth. It is derived from the delicate stigmas of the saffron crocus flower, each bloom producing only 3 fine threads. Harvesting saffron requires careful handwork and immense patience, as thousands of flowers are needed to produce even a small quantity. This labor-intensive process makes saffron exceptionally valuable, both economically and culturally. In addition to well-known spices, there exists a group of rare and lesser-known varieties that add depth to the world of flavors. Grains of paradise, native to West Africa, offer a unique combination of peppery heat and citrus-like brightness. Long pepper, used in ancient civilizations, provides a more complex and lingering warmth than common black pepper. Mastic, a resin obtained from specific trees in the Mediterranean region, introduces a subtle, pine-like aroma unlike any other spice. These rare spices highlight the extraordinary diversity of plant chemistry. Each one contains a unique combination of compounds that produce distinct sensory experiences. Their limited availability and unusual characteristics have made them objects of curiosity and exploration throughout history. Taken together, the heat of chili peppers, the rarity of saffron, and the mystery of uncommon spices illustrate the wide spectrum of what spices can offer. They are not simply ingredients, but natural phenomena shaped by evolution, geography, and human discovery. Color, sensation, and the quiet presence of spices. Spices influence human experience in ways that go far beyond taste. Their presence can be seen, felt, and even remembered through subtle sensory impressions. Color, sensation, and atmosphere all play a role in how spices are perceived, making them not only culinary ingredients but also elements of visual and emotional expression. One of the most noticeable qualities of many spices is their natural color. These colors are created by pigments, chemical compounds that develop within plants as part of their biological processes. Turmeric, for example, contains curcumin, a pigment that produces a deep golden yellow hue. Paprika owes its rich red tones to carotenoids, while saffron releases a soft amber color when infused into liquid. These pigments are stable enough to retain their intensity even after drying, allowing spices to transform the appearance of food with only small amounts. In many culinary traditions, color is not merely decorative but symbolic. Warm tones such as gold, red, and orange are often associated with warmth, energy, and nourishment. As a result, spices that carry these colors can influence how food is perceived even before it is tasted. A dish enriched with colorful spices may appear more inviting, balanced, and complete. Beyond their visual qualities, spices also create distinct physical sensations. Certain compounds interact with sensory systems in the human body, producing effects that go beyond simple taste. Some spices generate warmth, others create cooling sensations, and some produce a gentle tingling effect. These responses are caused by interactions with sensory receptors, including those connected to touch and temperature. Pepper, for instance, produces a slow, spreading warmth, while mint creates a cooling effect by stimulating receptors associated with cold perception. Ginger can produce a mild heat combined with a subtle tingling sensation. These effects contribute to the overall experience of food, adding layers of complexity that extend beyond flavor alone. Spices also have a quiet but powerful connection to memory and atmosphere. Their aromas can evoke specific environments or moments without the need for conscious thought. A familiar scent may recall a place, a season, or a routine, creating a sense of continuity between past and present experiences. In everyday life, spices often exist in the background, subtly shaping perception without drawing attention to themselves. A small amount added to tea, soup, or baked goods can influence both taste and mood in a gentle and unobtrusive way. This quiet presence is one of their most distinctive qualities. Taken together, the color, sensation, and subtle influence of spices demonstrate that their role extends beyond flavor. They engage multiple senses at once, forming a complex interaction between the physical and perceptual aspects of human experience. The sounds, textures, and physical nature of spices. Spices are most often associated with aroma and flavor, yet they also possess distinct physical qualities that are rarely discussed. Their textures, shapes, and even the subtle sounds they produce during preparation contribute to the overall sensory experience in ways that extend beyond taste and smell. Many spices undergo noticeable physical transformations when handled. Peppercorns crack sharply when crushed, releasing both aroma and a distinct sound that signals the breaking of their outer shell. Cinnamon bark fractures into layered splinters, revealing its fibrous structure. Dried leaves and seeds create soft, crisp sounds when moved or ground, forming a quiet rhythm often present in traditional kitchens. Texture also plays an important role. Some spices are smooth and fine when ground, like turmeric or paprika, forming soft powders that easily blend into liquids. Others remain coarse, such as cracked pepper or crushed coriander seeds, adding a subtle graininess that can be felt as well as tasted. This variation in texture influences how spices interact with food, affecting both consistency and perception. Certain spices exhibit unusual physical properties. Some seeds are naturally oily and leave a slight sheen when pressed. Others are dry and brittle, breaking apart easily under pressure. These characteristics are directly related to the internal structure of the plant and the presence of oils or fibers within it. In addition, the way spices are processed, whether whole, crushed, or finely ground, can significantly change their behavior. Whole spices tend to release their properties slowly, while ground spices disperse quickly and more evenly. This difference affects not only flavor but also how the spice is experienced over time. There is also a tactile aspect to spices that connects them to human interaction. The act of grinding spices with a mortar and pestle, for example, creates a combination of movement, sound, and resistance that engages multiple senses at once. This process has remained largely unchanged for centuries, offering a direct connection to traditional methods of preparation. Even the visual texture of spices can influence perception. Rough, irregular surfaces may suggest intensity or richness, while fine powders may appear softer or more subtle. These visual cues often shape expectations before the spice is even used. Taken together, the physical nature of spices reveals another dimension of their complexity. They are not only sources of aroma and flavor but also materials with structure, texture, and presence. Through touch, sound, and form, spices engage the senses in quiet and often overlooked ways, adding depth to their role in both culinary practice and everyday experience.